Errol, nice to talk to you. My name is Andrew Tucci. I'm a reporter for a writer for Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's an honor to get to even interview you. I appreciate you coming on.
Well, it's an honor for me to be on with you and an interview with you. It's very nice to meet you, Andrew.
You too. So to get us started, why don't you tell me a little about yourself, about your background, how you started up with radio and all that.
It could be a long story, but I'll
Yeah,
make it as short as I possibly can, so you can get
sounds
all
good.
the information you want out of it.
All right.
I was I was an athlete, and things didn't work out for me. Injuries happened, and I became I did some mixed martial arts and boxing after graduating from high school, and even though I was pretty good at it, I didn't really feel that that was the route that was the way I wanted to go, and I was DJing, and I've been DJing since then, and I traveled all the different parts of the country and got to meet many different people, and it was a great experience. I had many opportunities to see different parts of the world, and something that a 20-year-old wouldn't imagine seeing.
Mhm.
And when I came back and my parents got sick, my mom had lung cancer, and my father had heart issues. I decided to stay here and continue my way of either DJing and entertainment in the entertainment field. And I was always told while I was going to school that you're very good. You have a very good personality. You have a very good connection with people, and you know sports very well, obviously, and you're not afraid to speak your mind about it. And so when I was 30, I did a mentoring ship with a company, and I went out to NBC Sports Radio, and I worked with Dan Schwartzman and Amani Toomer. And Amani Toomer played for the New York Giants and got the experience. And Dan taught me a lot about what this business is and how cutthroat it is. And um, during the 10 months that I was doing it, to almost a year that I was doing with him, I had the opportunity to help executive produce in certain parts of their show and at NBC Sports Radio called Going Deep. And but I don't want to be remembered as that. But after my mentoring ship, I decided, hey, you know what? Podcasting just came out and became a very big thing in the industry, and there was no digital platform out there that really has built options for people outside of the radio wave. So if you couldn't if you couldn't get a job in the radio industry or internships, there was no other way of doing it. So people were podcasting. I didn't want to do a podcast. I didn't want to be known as a podcaster. So
Mhm.
I decided to build a studio at my place, and I built a professional studio. I'm very good at sound, and I I, I worked with 2 to 3 different co-hosts, and two of them, had other opportunities in the fields. One was a journalist, and the other one obviously got an opportunity to move to Carolina to become I think he became a vice principal of the school, a college.
Mm.
And so I was looking for a partner, and I met one of my friends introduced me to a guy named Mikey C. And I asked him, he didn't know anything about radio, and he had no understanding about the radio industry. He always wanted to do it. He had a good sense of sports. And I said, you know what, I'll train you. I'll teach you what I know, and we can work together, and we can build a good relationship doing that.
Mhm.
And we did. And we started a show called Sports on the Go One. And it became, so at the time, there was a program or an app called Periscope, which was at the time connected to Twitter. And no sports related stuff was on that app. There was, different things for money, how to make money, all this. People would post up and do live things, but there was no Facebook Live at the time. There was nothing. There was
Mhm.
no Instagram Live or TikTok. This was the only premier um, video, I guess, digital platform that you can build a radio show. So what I decided to do is I wanted to have something that would bring out sound. So while people were doing Podbean and all these other things, these programs that were just really learning how to regulate and stuff like that, I found a company called Santovacast, and it was a very high profiled digital platform for radio. And um, I started that with the radio end, and then I wanted to do a video way where people could connect with us, and that was Periscope. So we went live on both platforms, and we started to grow our product. And there were many people very, very much interested in our product at the time. Different companies were interested in at one point to signing both of us, but they wanted us to change the way we built our content. And I thought we were real and we were naturally good at what we were doing, and that was entertaining people, making people laugh, and giving our opinion to sports, and not holding back on anything we do, like Pat McAfee, like Stephen A. Smith, like all those guys in the industry. But at the time, Stephen A. Smith was on Cold Pizza, whatever the hell it was, on ESPN, and it was that kind of product really wasn't developed in anybody's platform to be a cutthroat attacking personality. And I believe our show with Sports on the Go One Radio was an opportunity to give a different outlook to sports radio and really cause ruckus in the media world. And we did. A lot of people started to follow us. A lot of people started to get to know us in the industry. As a matter of fact, when we started it, there were kids that were graduating from college that were interested in possibly doing internship or going to college, possibly doing internships or writing for us, or even learning about radio, the digital end of radio, because it was new and nobody understood it. And that was something that I believe to this day, I believe we were one of the first, and I think we were the godfathers of digital sports radio. We'll never get the credit for it, and I'm not gonna pin it, but it was in 2012 when we started a digital platform. And if you look back and you look at all the digital platforms, there was none. We were the first and one of very few digital platforms that were created. And after that, there were so many people that were coming on as guests, and I decided to create a network of talent. And we decided to move my studios from my place into a bunch of corporate places where we started a platform called, it was Sports on the Go One Radio, to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And I wanted to create optional opportunities for kids that graduated from college that couldn't get jobs. And it was hard to get an internship or get their foot in the door. So they needed a platform to really create their content. And I opened up options for these guys to develop their skills and help them develop their skills after college. And after that, we started to grow. We had over 10 shows on our network, and opportunities came for a lot of these guys that were on our network. And they got optional jobs with WFAN, ESPN, CBS Sports Radio, NBC, all these big conglomerate companies, even podcasting. And what happened is they moved on with their careers. And as they moved on their careers, optional with what we were doing, we decided to cut some of the shows. We didn't want to add any more shows until eventually, me and my partner, Mikey C, decided to break up because we felt like putting our talents to different shows and making the shows a little bit better. We had a kid that graduated from college from Connecticut reach out to me a million times and kept calling me and sending me emails because we had a post on Monster.com and all these different, looking for people that would be interested in and working for a radio station, learning after graduating from college how to help us and help us grow. And his name was Kyle Kloiber. And he came to me, and I said, he called me, and finally, within 3 months, he said to me, he's like, I would really like to come out and introduce myself and come and look at the studios and stuff like that. And I said, where do you live? He says, I live in Connecticut. I said, well, how the hell are you going to come here every single day from Connecticut? We have a studio in Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, if you can get, he says, I have my grandparents out here. I will move out here tomorrow if you can let me come and interview with you. So he came. My partner said, he's a little wet behind the ears. Are you going to take on a responsibility like this? And I said to myself, I think that he has the understanding and hard work and the intensity in the interview that he really wants to. I think we should try him. And we put him on a show with Mikey C and Anthony Beers, a guy named Anthony Beers, and the show was horrible, absolutely horrible. And Mikey told me after a week and a half, 2 weeks, he says, I don't want to work on this show anymore. The show needs to be tossed to the side. So Anthony obviously decided to part ways with us. Mikey had other business to attend to, and me and Mike. So I had a show called Down to the Wire, and I decided to sit down with Speedy because I asked my partner Mikey C. I'm sorry, he's not Kyle. I decided to sit down with Mikey C and talk to him about it. And I said, "What do you think I should do with him?" And he says, "He's not good. If you want to take out a burden like that, then go by all means do it." But I didn't think it was a burden. When I sat down with Kyle, I saw something in him that I saw in myself. And that's dedication, hard work, and love for the industry. So I decided to take Kyle on. And while I got to know Kyle, I didn't want to call him Kyle anymore. I said, this is a horrible name, horrible radio name. And I said, you speak very fast, and when you stop, you lose the understanding on how to get back into your sentence and talking. It's like, I think I'm going to call you Speedy. And he says, why do you want to call me Speedy? I was like, I don't know. You talk very fast, and when you know something, you talk very fast and you don't shut up. And then the other thing is that he looked like a guy that reminded. I was a big Disney fan growing up as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 70s, there was a movie that came out called Pete's Dragon.
Okay.
And Speedy looked like the guy from Pete's Dragon. So I said, you know what? I'm going to call you Speedy Petey. That's what I'm going to call you. And everybody's going to know you in the industry as Speedy now. Nobody's going to call you Kyle. Nobody's ever going to call you by your first name or your last name. And then I started him working with me. And I'm sorry, I'm answering this a long time, but you could take a lot out of this.
Yeah.
And, cut it up. But it took, Speedy, working with Speedy, I told him that we're going to start over and we're going to make you a producer. I'm going to teach you how to do the board. I'm going to teach you how to audio and sound and everything like that. And he started to produce every one of our shows on the network. And then as time came, I sat down after my show and I worked with him, and we worked together, and we built a good rapport with one another. And then eventually I felt that he was ready to speak on shows. So it took a while, took months, almost a year before he was ready to do that. And I would honestly say Speedy is one of the most talented people in this industry right now. One of the hardest workers, one of the more dedicated people in this industry. And I wouldn't want another partner. I wouldn't want to work with another partner more than him. So obviously Speedy is autistic. And but you wouldn't even know the difference if he was or he wasn't. He's one. I believe he's going to be one of the biggest and the best stars in this industry, because not because of his autism, because of his will and his understanding on growing and working so very hard at his craft to become who he is today. Um, and then after that, we decided to move our show into a deli. Okay, and
Mhm.
we were doing live shows in a deli for almost a year, and it was fun. It was interesting, but eventually we decided to, there was only a couple of shows on our network now because other people moved on in their careers and stuff like that. That I said, you know what, I'm gonna, now that everything's digital and there's other ways to go live with Zoom and all the different, no, all the different podcasting and StreamYard and all that other stuff. I said, you know what? We don't need to do live shows all together in the same studio. We can do them in all different parts of the world.
Mhm.
So, again, we were one of the first to do that as well. And we started with Zoom when Zoom came out and started to become popular. We started, and Wirecast, a company called Wirecast. We started with OB, what is it? Speedy, what was that called? OB, Speedy,
OBS.
OBS, yes. We started with
OBS.
OBS programming, and then we moved to Wirecast, and then Zoom, and now StreamYard. So we went from OBS to Wirecast to StreamYard. I mean to all the to Zoom to
Zoom.
yeah, and to StreamYard. So we learned all these programs and we developed skills in these programs, including me. And as I learned these programs, I trained Speedy and I taught Speedy what I learned about the programs. And Speedy became a dedicated perfectionist to the programming. And programming in this industry is the wave of the future. Digital sports radio is the wave of the future. And I knew that when I left NBC, I knew that after my mentorship, that I knew that digital radio was going to change the industry maybe for the better or maybe for the worse. But it obviously it's opened up opportunities for everybody through worldwide to do a podcast, to do a live radio show where they can go on YouTube and all the different platforms that they have. So that was really the creation of my career. And I've had opportunities. When I started Sports on the Go One Radio, I was offered years ago a CBS Sports Radio job in Dallas, Texas, a full-time opportunity.
Mhm.
But at the time, I just started my platform, and I wouldn't call it stupid or dumb, but I applied for the opportunity. I got an interview and I got an offer, and I decided not to take the opportunity because one, my parents, my mother, and my father were very sick at the time still, and I decided to turn the deal down and continue doing what I was doing with Sports on the Go on radio at the time. This was before all that happened, but since then, I wasn't really pushing myself for the opportunity. And I always believe this, and this is something that I'm a perfectionist. I don't care what anybody says. You want to be the best, you got to work your ass off, and you got to put the time in, and you got to be dedicated to your work and your content. And that's what I do. I said to myself when I started this at the age of 30, and now I'm 41, I said to myself, I'm not going to go out there and pitch myself. I'm not going to go out there and find an agent until I realized that I believe I was one of the best in the industry. And that was 2 years ago. And during COVID, the tail end of COVID, I said to myself, and dude, COVID changed everything. COVID transitioned everything with the media world because it opened. You couldn't go into the studios anymore, so people had to work at home and do everything at home. So everybody started transitioning into the digital platforms. So everything that I saw it to be 10 years before happened 10 years later. And it's crazy. Again, I'm never going to get credit for it. Again, I'm not going to say, hey, you know what? I was the one that said this was going to happen. No, but I do believe I was one of the I would say fathers of the digital platform. And I knew it was going to change the world. It was going to change the business. And now everybody's doing it. But I knew 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, that I was ready to put myself out there. So I put myself out there. Everybody, and I found an agency, and the Mountain family and Brian Mountain, who's my agent now, and my manager, took me on as a client when most industry conglomerate agencies don't take on guys that are not on a worldwide network, not a digital network, but a worldwide network, a top, like a network like ESPN or ABC. You have to be in it for a year. You got to go out there and get your own job before an agent takes you on as a client. Well, I got a chance to talk to the agency, and then the agency introduced me to Brian, told me if Brian wants to take you as a client, let him decide. And he decided just in a conversation with me that he thought that I would be a great client and a person of interest to him and helping me grow and put myself out there. And now I've been in the industry for 11 years, and I believe I have so much knowledge to give to the industry. And I do believe that I'm one of the best in the industry. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to mention names, but anybody that listens to me or anybody that's listened to me over the last 11 years would tell you how many different personalities have mimicked my personality on all different platforms. And I'm not going to go out there and take shots. I'm not going to give you any names, but if anybody that's listened to my show and knows the personality that I am would know that there are people in this industry that have gotten into the industry, not 11, during the last 5-6 years, that have created their platforms that I believe have seen what I have done and mimicked what I've done. So I'm not going to take shots at anybody and throw anybody under the bus, even though I love to do that, by the way. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to say or speak my piece. You can ask my new partner, my other co-host on the Sports Loudmouth, Sean Smith, ex-NFL player, the type of personality that I am. I don't hold back on what I say, and I will attack when I need to attack. And I'm not going to zipper my mouth or zipper what I feel about anything in the industry. If people don't like it, don't listen. If people like it, they want to call me an enemy, they want to call me the bad guy, so be it. I don't mind to be the bad guy. I don't mind to be the heel. So to me, I'm honest, and I will stay honest to my beliefs in any parts of this industry when it comes to the sports end or the business end.
Well, it sounds like you've had a lot of great experiences over these 11 years in the radio industry. So out of those 11 years, or even before that, what would you say is one singular experience you think that happened to you that made you into the type of person you are, like the one you were just describing, like the perfectionist, as you said?
Every piece of my life, I was always told, hey, good luck. It's a dream. It's never going to happen. Everybody used to tell me that, it's good to have dreams, but dreams don't usually come true. And I was told that in sports. I was told that everywhere and everything that I've ever done. You're not big enough. You're not this, you're not that, and all this other stuff. And I said, I always believed in my talent and my understanding and my OCD of being a perfectionist. And there were a lot of different things that I could say. winning awards and being the best that I could be in different sports, and understanding the the way that I believed the path that I wanted to follow and I wanted to go. So um, there was a lot of different ways. I think mainly was my father. My dad, my dad was very hard on me,
Mhm.
and I didn't have much of a relationship when I was a kid with my father. As a matter of fact, I had a bad temper growing up and liked to get into fights and get kicked out of many different schools and suspended. And the only thing I had was sports. It was the only thing that linked me to the normal world. And watching sports and dedicating my personality and learning statistics and learning about all the different sports and teams. I even got into NASCAR and tennis. I was an Andre Agassi fan growing up in tennis, while everybody loved Pete Sampras. And the reason why I liked Andre Agassi because he was the bad boy of tennis. And then I was a Dale Earnhardt fan because he was the bad boy of
Mhm.
NASCAR. So every single guy that I followed growing up in professional sports, they were the bad boys in their sports. So I always looked at myself as a bad boy, even though in person talking to you, you would think, oh man, that guy's a nice guy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But anybody that understands the way I am and the intensity that I have in everything I do, I have never satisfied with anything ever. And and I would say that about anybody that is trying to get into this industry. I would say that about anybody that has a love for something. If you want something bad enough and you believe that you can go out and get it, then you go out and get it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I don't care. This is not a fairy tale. This is not me trying to tell you something like Jiminy Cricket and Pinocchio and I want to be a real boy or whatever the hell you want to say it. I
Yeah.
mean, I I'm telling you or telling everybody that if you really, really want something and you believe in it, you'll get it. Just got to keep working for it. And don't ever let anybody take you down or take your goals down because of it. So that would be that would be it, man. I mean, honestly, meeting so many athletes, interviewing so many athletes. I've interviewed over 700 athletes over the last 10 years, maybe even more than that. I've gone to NHL All-Star games, NHL playoff games, NHL Stanley Cup final games, NBA playoffs and drafts, NFL. I've been to the combine. I've been all over the place, you
Mhm.
know, and I'm not gonna go out there and say, "Hey, I'm Errol Marks. This is who I am." I think I think your words and your distinct personality will sell yourself in any industry you want to put your foot in the door to.
I totally agree. I'm kind of the same way with never being really satisfied with anything. I always want to, work towards what I want. So hearing that is pretty reassuring. So you said you went around everywhere, All Star games,
Mhm,
um, basketball games, with all those places.
mhm.
Out of everything you've been a part of or you even witnessed, what would you say your favorite sports moment in your lifetime you've been a part of or witnessed is?
It's so funny. It was my it was my 35th or 36th birthday. My
Mhm.
father just passed away.
Sorry.
Yeah. And I was doing a hockey show.
Mhm.
And everybody that knows me knows that I grew up a John Van Beesbrook fan. I mean, I was at one point a big Ranger fan. I'm not a Ranger fan anymore. I'm an Islander fan, but that's a whole nother story. Um, and we were doing the show on a Saturday afternoon. It was my birthday.
Mhm.
And Ashley Sarge is his name. And he says, I have a surprise for you. And says, we have a very special guest. And I said, okay, well, who's the special guest? His name is Tom something. And I'm like, who the hell is that? And so he gets him online. Speedy's producing the show. And I say, hello, Tom, who are you? And why are you calling the show? And he started laughing. And then he said to me, And then Ashley looked at me, smirked at me, and he says, and so the guy on the phone says, "This is John Van Beesbrook," and he
Mhm.
says, "I want to wish you a very happy birthday."
Oh,
And he says, It's very nice to meet you. It's very nice to have a conversation with you." And I said, "Johnny, so I all of a sudden from a birthday gift like that, I did an interview with him, and I wasn't even ready for the interview, so I was so flabbergasted. When you see me, I don't get starstruck. I've met musicians. I've traveled and met so many people that people look up to in the industry, the music industry. As we all know, Taylor Swift and the Swifties, and the whole Travis Kelsey thing.
yeah.
I actually went on tour with, Cash Money, and I saw so many different industry conglomerates and got to meet so many people. And I was never starstruck on whoever I met in the past.
Mm.
The athletes too. I mean, but for some reason, he was a guy that I looked up to as a kid, one of the guys I looked up to. So it was amazing. So a year later, um, I was invited to go to the NHL draft in Dallas. And I'll never forget this. And I walked in, I had my credentials, I'm walking right under there, and I found out a year before that John Van Beesbrook was the new United States director for United States hockey, juniors, and for the Olympics and everything like that. So I walked through, and there he was. He was standing there in Dallas, and I was walking through, and as soon as he turned around and he saw my badge, says, "Mr. Marks, it's very nice to meet you finally in person." And then we started speaking about hockey and what's going on in the draft and United. And I said to him, "Is there any possible way I can get an interview with you here at the draft where I can ask you some questions about the United States hockey team and everything like that, and some of these young draftees that are going to be coming up in the rankings very, very soon into the NHL?" And he wasn't really doing interviews, and he says, "For you, I'll do an interview with you." And we did an interview. And he said before we left, he says, "Listen, I'd like to get a picture with you." And I said, he says, "You want a picture with me?" I say, "Only if you want a picture with me." And we took a picture together. I still have that picture. I never put it up in my studio, but we still to this day have a picture. And Johnny was so gracious, and a person that I still to this day I look up to, and a person that I respect more than anything. So that was a great opportunity and a great part of my growth as where I was in the industry, and where I wanted to be. So that would be the time that I felt that I remember the most. And I was also on the ice when I was on the ice doing interviews when the St. Louis Blues beat the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup Finals in Boston. I was on the ice when the cup was hoisted. I always believed that as a kid, I was gonna have my name put on that cup. I was a big hockey player, and I was gonna hoist that cup, but or touch the cup when I won the Stanley Cup. I never got to win the cup, but I got to touch the cup when the cup was hoisted. So it was a great experience. That was something to be experienced about. A very good experience for my career as well.
Mm. Yeah, I actually when I went to the Hockey Hall of Fame, I don't know if it's the same one, but like they have the cup there. Like
Mhm.
so I got to take a picture with it and touch it. It's humongous compared to like on TV. I would never think like, you know, it's that big. Obviously it's big, but like I would never think like, it's like that big and like, you know, it was a cool thing to see.
It's a replica. It's not the same
It's not
Stanley
right.
Cup, but it's the
Yeah.
replica. It's exact
Yeah.
same thing, but it's a replica. It's not the real one. And
Yeah. That's what
they
I
were
figured.
actually the Islanders and the Rangers playing this year at the MetLife, and they actually had the cup there where you can actually get to touch the real cup.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
was there. I was there. I didn't even see it.
Really?
Yeah, I went to the game. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were they were there? Yeah. They
Oh, yeah. It
were.
was a great game. I didn't even see it. Okay.
Yeah, the cup was there. People got a chance to touch it and take pictures of it.
Oh, wow.
Even though the Ranger and Islander fans will probably tell you it's bad luck if you touch it. But
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
it's yeah, it was there. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, so in your opinion, what makes your network, the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, stand out to all the other radio networks out there?
That's very simple. Me.
True
I
that.
I
Yeah.
don't I there it's so crazy when you look at all the other networks, ESPN and all these other platforms that are being built every single day. And I will never shoot down any of these platforms ever. I would never try to turn away or tell somebody not to build their own network. But the one thing that I could say that's different about us is that we're real, and we're not going to sit there and beat around the bush about any of the topics that we get into, or even what we did from the beginning as a beginning platform and transitioning into the platform we have right now. The one thing that I could say we did wrong moving forward in the platform, even though we were one of the godfathers of it, we didn't really transition it the way we should have in the social media wave. Now, I knew social media was going to play a big part in the industry, but I didn't think it was going to play the biggest part in the industry. And that kept us back. That held us back from really transitioning into one of the big conglomerate radio digital platforms. But what makes us different really is our personalities. It's who we are and what we believe in, and not hold back. Nothing that we do on our show, we don't have to sit there and curse. We don't have to sit there and pounce and beat up people. What I do is I tell you my opinion. I give you um, the opinions towards it and the facts towards my content. And then even when we interview some of these great athletes that we've interviewed, we give an interview that nobody else does. It's like if you were at a lunchroom table and you were speaking about sports with your buddies, okay? And somebody comes to sit down with their lunch because somebody was picking on them on the other table, and they're a sports fan. And they come and sit down with you, and you don't even know who the hell they are. All right. And they listen to your conversation, and then all of a sudden they start, getting involved in the conversation, and you argue, and you befriend that person. Just because you don't know them doesn't mean that you can't build a conversation with. That's how we are with our interviews. Our interviewees that come on our show, they never ever feel like this is an interview where they're going to be asked the same effing questions every single time. We're going to ask you questions. We're going to laugh with you. We're going to crack jokes. We're going to make fun of people. And they're going to feel after they leave this interview that not only it was one of the best interviews they've ever had, but it was one of the more real interviews they've ever had.
Mhm. So going off that, I had another question about.
Ask whatever you want.
So you were talking about like you guys being real, which I think is honestly way more like entertaining than some radio or talk show hosts being like straightforward and just kind of bending the truth a little bit.
Mhm.
Would you obviously? I have a feeling I know what you're gonna say, but would you think it's better and like more entertaining to be the way like you guys are, or like go straight like facts and like go by the book and like try not to be like I don't know, like try not to be what's the word?
ESPN.
Yeah, ESPN. Yeah, ESPN. I
Um,
guess. Yeah.
you know what? There's no right or wrong answer to this. And
Yeah.
and if you were to sit down with ESPN, CBS, or NBC or any of these companies, they tell you to go by the book. The
Yeah.
book is the right way to go. But go ask Pat McAfee. Go ask Stephen A. Smith. Go ask Max Kellerman. Go ask anybody in the industry, Mike and the Mad Dog. Did they go off the book? They never did.
No.
They had their own reach. They had their own personalities. They had their own facts to opinions. I believe if you want to be different and you want to go a different route, you want to change the industry for the better and turn the industry into something that's going to take off in many ways than one, you got to be yourself. So my opinion is you go from who you are and what you believe. So That would be my opinion towards that.
Yeah, and honestly, all those people you just named, they're honestly probably the more entertaining out of like anyone else. So being more real and like voicing your opinion, honestly, is
Mhm.
definitely better than just being boring. ESPN. So
I'm 100%.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I got one more final question for you. So at the end of the day, whenever you decide you're done with radio, what kind of legacy would you hope you have left on the whole radio industry and like, where you hope to be, like in the rankings of radio history?
One, I'll never be done with radio.
Oh,
Okay, so no matter what, I'll be in my deathbed. I'll be on oxygen. I'll be on oxygen trying to
yeah,
breathe, and I'm on hospice. Okay, and I'll still be talking into a mic. You'll be,
yeah,
yeah, but
I got you.
my legacy.
Yeah,
It's so interesting. Everybody asks me this question, friends, family,
mm,
and I've always felt like I was not really respected, still to this day, not really respected as much as I should be in this industry. Maybe because the industry is very cutthroat and stuff like that, and maybe just people are jealous. I don't know what it is,
mhm,
but I've always believed that I I I always wanted to be the best, and I always want to be compared to the best in the industry. And my thought and my experience to everything that I've done in this industry, I went with my gut. And that not always going with your gut is right. And believing going with your gut is the right way to go. But I believe that who I am as a person and my belief in trust and following my path would take me to the top. So I feel like my legacy will always be there no matter where I go. And I want people to believe that at the end of my career, or if actually when I'm dead,
yeah. If
yes, when I'm dead, to remember me as one of the hardest workers in this industry, not only for a person that loves this industry more than anything in the world, and is willing to help this industry grow to higher heights and help build it from the bottom to the top again, because it's been, some people think tail spinning away. I want to be the guy that's going to help take this industry to that next level. I want to be the guy that when push comes to shove at the end of everybody's walking away and everybody wants to do this industry, and they say, who do you want to be like, who's the guy that you respect more than anybody in the industry? They're going to say that Errol Marks is the guy that I want to meet. Errol Marks is the guy that I want to be like. Errol Marks is the guy that I want to mimic my path to success.
mhm,
And that means more than anything. Any money, it's not about the money. It never was with me
yeah,
in this industry. Everybody wants to be Stephen A. Smith because he's making millions and millions of dollars. Everybody wants to be Mike Francesa because he's making millions and millions of dollars.
mhm,
That was not my plan when I wanted to do this business. My plan was is that I love entertaining people. I love showing people uh, that if you work hard and you believe in success and your work ethic, no matter what and what kind of obstacle you have to climb, that you'll be able to climb it and jump over it. That is what I want people to remember me as a person that's hardworking, dedicated, and has a passion for this business and is willing to do anything to take their talents to the next level.
appreciate you answering my questions. It was a privilege to get to talk to you.